I want to get to question 4. Here we go. I want to learn how to build real and deep relationships. Part of me feels like it's my fault as a commitment issue to my church, my community, or time management. Do we need more events? Do I got to stop my kids' sports events on weekends? Help me understand. Great question. I want to make a few points about this and then get into this as a topic. 3 points I want to make. Number 1, there is a battle for your time. There is a battle for your attention. And the answer to both of these is fluid and not static. Say it again. Battle for your time. Battle for your attention. And the answer to these 2 issues is fluid, not static. I'll explain. Most married adults with kids, if you're an adult and you're married and you've got kids, especially like as they're getting a bit older, I want to say something to you. That doesn't mean if you're single or divorced or widowed or whatever it doesn't matter. I'm just saying I want to say something to that particular group of people. You don't want any more friends. You're exhausted already. Between the sports and the schools and the work and the this, you're like, for the love of God, everybody leave me alone. And then we say, hey, we were made for relationship. We should be in community. You're like, I want you to die. Leave me alone. But you're a church, so you don't say it out loud. And then there's other groups here that are like, I am desperate. I need more. I want more. I'm looking for that. And those, you see those people, those of you on the other side, you see them and you're like, avoid. Avoid those people. They will want me to say hello, and I have no bandwidth for that today. And so you come in late to church and you leave quick. I'm not condemning any of you. Don't get all worked up. I'm just saying, you're like head down, acknowledge no one, worship God, get the heck out of here. Why? Because you're already maxed out. But I want to tell you something. That season will end. That season will end. Don't be discouraged by that, but that season will end. You're still in the thick of work life and kid engagement and all these things. Sports, schools, friends. If your kid isn't driving yet, but they're right at that age, you're driving all over San Diego. You've sat in more traffic than anything else in your life. And that right there fills up most adults' lives. That we just say, I don't need any more friends. Now, some of you are like, I'm single and I don't want friends either. Does that count? Yes, you're in too. You get it. You win. You could be in any state of life right now and maybe you're at that place you're like, I don't need any more friends. But you see, that one season doesn't define the whole story of your life. Right? If you have an infant, we've got a lot of COVID babies running around here. They're not running around, they're babies. But we have a bunch of COVID babies. We love our COVID babies. And you're like, I will never sleep through the night again. I will never, ever get a real night's sleep. But I'm telling you, you will. Eventually. That's not prophecy that tonight's going to be a good night. I'm just telling you, eventually it's going to happen, right? We all live within the current seasons that we're in. Sometimes those seasons feel like they will never end. I mean, just think, if you have 3 kids, 3 kids, it's years and years of little ones, infants, babies, toddlers, soccer games, weddings, everything. It's a lot. Just saying it, I'm tired. We're going to have to take a nap after church, okay? And of course, in this particular moment of your lives, you can't imagine other events. If you're holding, some our moms or dads that are holding their infant, you can't imagine that little baby or that 2-year-old or 3-year-old that one day they're going to walk down the aisle and get married. But it happens, doesn't it? Those of you that have had that happen, it happens, yes? Yeah. We all move through different seasons of our lives. And then we go to church. And the church is listen, if you just think of the church as like a human institution, you'll get really frustrated, because if you treat it that way, it's like, I got work, I got family, I got sports, I got this, I got that, I got church. But church isn't meant to be seen within those same mindsets. And I'll explain that in a minute. The church is a unique place where all generations, all cultures, all walks of life get shoved into the same room. Willing or not, we're here. And what happens? What do? We find our sweet spot. We sit in the same spots. You all know you do that, right? If I'm looking for some of you, I know right where you. I remember when I was a youth pastor at Calvary, Costa Mesa. I remember I missed a midweek service of Pastor Chuck when he was the pastor there. We were at a youth retreat, and he didn't know about it. And when I came back, he's like, "Oh, I missed you on Thursday." This room of 3,500 people. And I'm like, "Really? You missed me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know where you sit. You always sit on the left." He knew exactly where I always sit. And now I get to be that guy. I know where you are. Big Brother's watching. I see all. No. It's not like that. But I know where you're at, right? And you know where you're at. Why do we do that? Because that's where our group sits. That's where we find our group. We find our group and we sit with them. That's totally normal. The church is a place where that happens in a bigger scale than in most places. We're lucky to be in a church that has those that are older and those that are younger. Isn't it cool? We had about 40 5th to 8th graders that were in here for worship, and they're now having their own service right now. 40 of them worshiping with us. It's a powerful thing. What happens in so many churches that we're going to fight so hard to never let happen to us is that no group has representation. In the book of Acts, there was a group of people who were in a particular season of their lives that felt they were not being represented as a part of the body of Christ. And the result of that was that the apostles and the leaders came together and they prayed and they realized, yeah, this is actually a problem. We need to think about that. And from that day forward, the church has been committed to making sure that every person in every season of life has some form of representation in the church. If you're married, we want to help invest by God's grace into your marriage. You're single, we want to see God do amazing things in your singleness. Whatever season of life you're in, from middle school all the way up. But what happens in a lot of churches is the church itself ages out. They stop reaching a particular group of people. And then the group gets older and the black hair becomes gray hair, becomes white hair. We call it the aging out of churches. Happens all the time. And then if a younger person or younger group comes in, you know, they don't have, there's no room for them. And no church, and I've been a part of churches for years and years and years and years and years and years. No church does this intentionally. And I'm going to flip it, by the way, the other way on the other side in just a minute. But I've seen this happen in what we call the aging out experience, where we just stop valuing that younger generation. You've never seen this picture as a vision statement for a church. Go ahead. Here it is. A church against young people. We've never seen that. You've never seen that. But it happens all the time. Let me talk about the other problem. I've seen churches that focus all their attention on a particular age group. I want to reach one person. We're going to be the church of the 20-somethings. And then have you ever seen this one? Okay, boomer, that's not that. You ever seen that group? Churches do this. We will not do this. We are going to focus on a multi-generational, multicultural experience with God. We're going to awkwardly all sit together and have different life experiences. And we're going to be like, hey, I don't know what your life is like. Hey, I don't know what your life is like. And we're going to figure it out together. Okay, so why did I say that? Because number one, there's a battle for your time. You only got so much time. Whatever you give your time to is master. Bible sends a clear message. Psalm 39, verse 4. Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered and how fleeting my life is. If you're 20, don't think you got a long time. I'm not saying that because I'm older and it's like, oh yeah, it goes fast. I'm saying you don't know how long you have. And if you're 80, you already know you don't have a long time, right? You should. Let me tell you why we need you to think that way. Because we need the wisdom that comes from people who know life is short. I say it and it sounds like a joke, but it ain't a joke. We need you. I need older people to be like, hey, life goes fast. Because if we don't teach the younger people that, we can lose our whole lives to meaninglessness. So Psalm 90 says in verse 12, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I've done too many funerals for 20-somethings. Don't tell me how long you have. You don't know how long you have. Lord, teach us to number our days. The impetus behind time in our lives is not so much that we need to live a long time, but that with what we have, we use it wisely for the glory of God. That doesn't mean we just sit around like monks and read our Bible and pray and avoid everything. No. We engage and we love life and we live the fullest life possible for the glory of God. That's what it looks like to number our days. By the way, don't start feeling guilty. Oh, I need to go to church some more. I need to read some more. That's great. But stay with me through the whole theme of everything we've been talking about. You've been given a specific amount of time, and how you use it matters. It matters in the kind of relationship you want to have with the Lord. You can settle for an acquaintance relationship, like Keith Green said, visiting God in jail. But that has consequences. When hard times come, you cannot be surprised that you have no deep reservoir of connection with the Lord. You're like, I'm going to live for me and God, cool, I love you, I'll show up once a week, maybe twice a month, possibly, Easter, Christmas, usually. Friends, you can do that. That's okay. This is not my version of you need to go to church. But I'm just telling you, the result of that is that you will not have a deep reservoir of connection to fall back into when you need God. When you really need Him. And don't tell me that's not coming, because it's coming for all of us. When you really need God, that's when you need to have been investing your time wisely in a relationship with God. And of course, the time you give to the Lord has bearing on your marriage, on your kids, on your work, on basically every single part of your life. And don't misunderstand this. I'm not saying if you go to church, then everything else in your life will be hunky-dory. What I am saying is that when you invest time in the Lord, there's a reservoir of peace and of grace and of contentment and of richness and of fullness and of thought and of life that you'll have, that you're going to need to tap into when the famine comes. Because friends, as we read in the Bible, in Deuteronomy it says that we've been given a land that is full of hills and valleys. We see this in the book of Genesis through the life of Joseph, that there were seasons of plenty and there were seasons of nothing. And that's human existence. Plenty and nothing. Plenty and nothing. Plenty and nothing. You're like, oh, I must be doing so good with God. I barely talk to Him. I barely read. I barely do anything, and I'm doing amazing. Friends, when the nothing time comes, you'll have nothing. And that's no way to live out your Christian life. I'm going to invite the worship team to come back up to close us in song. There's a battle for your time. Work longer, and you cut out time with your family and kids. Maybe it's what has to happen in a season of your life, but if you make that your every single day, month, year, decade, do not be surprised when you're retired and older and you're ready to enjoy the kids, and the kids are like, I didn't know you very well. I'm using that as a real extreme. Let me put this on the other side of this, okay? You can invest you can be like, it's just all about my kids. I just need to be with my kids. And you can teach your kids inadvertently that they're God. And you miss but it matters so much. Everything matters so much. And you can inadvertently teach your kids that our God is our family. But Joshua said it so clear when he said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. My God should not be my marriage or my kids. You see, I am the best, you are the best. You're the best single, you're the best divorced, you're the best widowed, you're the best married, you're the best kid, you're the best parent, you're the best husband or wife. You're the best version of yourself when God becomes your first. And then you don't have to worry about it. I think most of us, especially when you got kids at all age levels and you're working and you're living, we're like plate spinners. This is all we're doing. We're like, okay, soccer, brrr, okay, work, boom, okay, marriage, brrr, and we're like, oh shoot, I'm missing something. Okay, brrr, and then we're turning around and we're dizzy and we're confused and plates are dropping and we spend our whole lives going, sorry about that, I'm sorry about that, I wish I could be better, I wish I could do better. And then 20 years go by and you're like, I've spent my entire life just apologizing for not being good enough. How exhausting is that? Friends, we have to start with this relationship with God where we know which plate to spin at the right moments. Because there's times when it's like, you know what? Buckle down, get to work, do your job, do it well, it'll pay off. And then there's times when you got to say, you know what? This is my moment. I've got to invest into this or into that. But you won't know what those are when you're the God deciding those things. It's exhausting trying to be God. There's a better way. We have to be connected to the Lord. It's so exhausting trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do next? How do I do this? How do I do this? You'll never get it right. You'll always live with guilt. You'll always feel bad, and you'll lash out at people because they're right when they tell you, well, you should really think about this, and you know they're right, but you're so mad that they said it. There's a better way. We got to trust the Lord with our time. Couple more things, and then I'll get to it. There's a battle for your attention. I've already been talking about it. I need you to think about it. What's getting your attention? Well, this is really important. I didn't ask what's important. What is the Lord showing you needs to happen? You see, there's always a battle for what's most important. But only one king gets to decide that in your life. It's either you or it's Jesus. Or sometimes it's our kids. Who's dictating your attentions? And then the final point that I made, and it's this: the solution to these two things is not a static one. Like, it's always this. I have heard pastors and self-help books and life coach things and yada, 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 whatever. I've heard it in psychology in the world and in Christianity. I've heard it all the time. You just need to have your priorities, and you go beep, beep, beep. Relationship with God doesn't work like that. The answer to the battle for my time and the battle for my attention is not a static one. Well, it's just this and it's just this. I've heard it's this. It's God, it's family, it's this. No, it's not. You want to designate the order of priorities in your life? Are you ready? Write it down. Number 1, God. Number 2, God. Number 3, God. And then you let God direct your attentions and your time and your resources and your energies and your emotions and your efforts. We have to start there. And you're like, man, this is going to be hard. Oh, but it'll be so worth it. It'll be so worth it in the long run. It'll be so worth it. Amen? Did I keep you? Did I lose you? Are you there? Are you with me? Time and attention. They can either be controlled by God or you got to be in control of them. And friends, we don't do a good job of that. We got to surrender those things to the Lord.
Thank you so much for joining us, whether online or in person. We pray that the ministry of Calvary San Diego is encouraging you in your faith. If you would like to follow along with what we are doing or hear more teachings, you can do so by downloading the Calvary SD mobile or TV app. Also, if you would like to partner with us and worship through giving, you can do so at calvarysd.com/give. Thanks for tuning in.